when you're starting out, you need to focus on learning rather than earning. And so I think one of the biggest hacks in the world is getting paid to learn. Like right now we have this big societal context of like you pay in order to learn. But what if there were a world where you could get paid to learn? Well, that is what working at a company is if you're mindful of what career path you want to get into. Now, if you're like, I don't know what I want to do, then I would recommend starting with a meta skill. So sales is going to, like, if you learn how to sell, it'll work in any company you're in. If you learn how to market, it'll work in any company. I mean, to be fair, if you get into HR, a zillion businesses need HR stuff, if that's what you like. Now, if you're like, I don't know what I like, well, you also aren't going to like anything unless you start, because we usually only like things that we're good at, and we usually aren't good at things that we start, right? And so the only way to get good at something is to do a lot of it. And when you start, you suck. And so a lot of the time, there's this fallacy of finding the right thing or the perfect fit. But one, almost every entrepreneur that I know has had many, many, many businesses, and mostly many failures before they had their success. It's because each one of them stair-stepped. And so there's this paralysis around like, I got to pick the right thing. And it's really, you got to pick something. And then you'll learn all the inadequacies that you have no idea about once you get into it. Like I started a gym when I was 22 years old, like brick and mortar, signed a lease, say $50,000.
Yeah.
It was stupid. I had no idea what I was doing, but I did sign, kudos to younger me. I had a mentor early on who was in the gym world.
That's great.
Right?
So you could get advice and learn from.
Yes. I mean, it was still incredibly hard, but I was able to just get, suck everything like a,
fire hose,
like a vacuum cleaner, to get all the information I needed to just barely keep my head above water and then things started to work out, because every weekend I'd go and drive over to a gym owner and say, why do you do this? Why is your lobby like this? How many leads do you convert? How do you call it? Like whatever. And so I just kept doing that every single weekend. And because I was such a young guy, everyone was,
help this guy out.
Of course,
yeah.
Exactly. And I owe a lot to those older entrepreneurs who helped me out. And so in some ways, a lot of what I do at acquisition.com is kind of my small way of paying it forward.
And one of the cool things is when you're someone who's getting started and you're going out and humbly asking for advice, but you're taking the actions. Hey, I'm launching this thing. I'm taking the steps. I'm just trying to figure it out, but I'm taking the actions and I'm in the process. People usually want to give advice and support and say, hey, why don't you come check out and go out for lunch or whatever it is. But if you're just saying, I want to do this, but I'm not taking any action, people are less likely to help you. Maybe they'll help you a little bit, but if they see you struggling and trying and leaping before you're ready, it's like, all right, cool, let's help you get it going.
I love the saying, luck favors the prepared.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you want to go ask, Lewis to have you on, or to get Lewis on your show, right? Well, what do? You don't just ask Lewis. You show how much you've prepared. You say, hey, I went through 50 hours of your content. These are 9 questions that have never been asked to you before that I think would be really good. I've got 2 buddies of mine from college who are going to also video it. I've got this church basement that I can get the lighting to look really cool so we can make it cinematic. Because to be real, I know I don't have the audience that you have, but I can help at least give you clips that will distribute and actually convert for you. And hopefully that's enough of a value add. Now, Lewis might not say yes, but if you do that 100 times, count in hundreds,
right?
One Lewis will say yes.
Right.
And everyone loves to help people who help themselves. Yes. Always. Because the biggest fear that anyone who gives advice has is that someone takes the advice and does nothing.
Exactly.
Because they didn't learn. They didn't change their behavior.
That's true.
Right?
It's a waste of the time.
So you don't feel like you're teaching. You only teach if they change their behavior. If they change their behavior, they learned. And so many people like being a teacher. I think a teaching role is nice. I think most people feel good about it. But you only feel like you have a teaching role if you see a change. And
someone takes action,
right?
Yeah.
And you can hack the whole system if you just show people that you'll take initiative.
100%. If you take, that's what happened for me early on. I was just taking a lot of action, and people were like, they wanted to add me in the room. They wanted me at the table because I was willing to take action. Even though I was young and broke and struggling, they were like, hey, this guy's showing up. Yeah. I would go to every conference that I could in kind of the social media blogging world early on, and somehow get to the late night dinners at 2 a.m. with all the speakers. And they were like, hey, why don't you come tag along, young guy? You're bringing us a lot of joy, at least, right? Even though you have no clue what you're doing. You can't offer anything else but joy. But you're asking me some interesting questions that people don't. So, I'm happy to talk about myself for another 20 minutes.
Totally.
And you get in the room, you get access, and you take action. People will want to keep supporting you.
Totally.
Because you're applying their teachings, and people like that.
Makes them feel important.
It does. It validates, I know something about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's good. You want to keep helping this person grow. What do you think your 85-year-old self needs to tell you now to get to where you want to be faster?
Oh, It's funny that was the question. I mean, he would tell me.
Speaking of the mentors, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, he would tell me, why do you want to go faster? Be like, why can't it take 10 times as long?
From 200 to a billion?
Sure. Why not? Like, why
does it need to be 5 years
right.
or 10 years? Why can't it be 50 years?
Right. If it took 50 years, but then it all happened at once at the end, would you like that? I don't know. Right. It's, you know, it's kind of like the man who lives an amazing life and the last day everyone finds out he's a fraud, or the man who lives his entire life with everyone thinking he's a fraud, and then in the last day of his life, he's proven right. Which one would you rather be?
If you're gone, you're not going to get to experience the fruit of it
right.
all. But
interesting question, though.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like the painters that become famous once they're dead.
Yeah. And so I think, 85-year-old me, I'll tell you the recurring themes that he works on with me. Patience is a big one. Focus is a big one. Sticking with what I committed to. Focusing on the controllables of like, what are the activities, what are the actions that I have to take? And being okay with potentially varied outcomes. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but being consistently divorced from the outcome, but trying my absolute damnedest to make sure that everything that is in my control was done to the utmost. And we started there, but I just like, it's hard to understand the context. Like you hear people say this, like it's about the journey, it's not about the destination. And you hear people say like, you know, it's about doing the stuff. It's not about the outcome. And you're like, yeah. It's easy for you to say when you have the outcome.
Right. When they've already made the money.
Of course. I get it. But if you can make that flip, like it's just, the hard part is the action is so much greater. If you really measured yourself by the actions you take, then you might be embarrassed. So you really hope to measure yourself on the outcome because you can get by on sometimes winning when you don't deserve it. Your reputation is made by the 99.
Wow.
And so if you want to control the reputation that you have, then you need to give away more stuff. And in a world where trust is going to continually decrease and the amount of information and content is going to only increase with AI and things like that, I believe that personal brands and trust and authority are going to be increasingly important. I think that more companies